Hello, good morning. Today we're talking cravings. Cravings can just be generally disadvantageous to your fitness journey for obvious reasons. If you have fat loss goals, if you have health goals, then craving donuts all the time is just really not helpful. I suppose the only time it could be helpful is if you're trying to bulk and you're struggling to eat enough, then, you know, craving donuts might be kind of helpful for you. But as a whole, they generally make your lives not as easy, and they're not really fun to deal with, because cravings, especially if you're getting cravings all the time, can feel very like all-consuming, right? Like once you get a craving, it's kind of like all you can think about. So in this video, I wanted to walk you through some of my top tips to get rid of cravings, because I, for the most part, live my life without any cravings, and it's kind of nice. Like pretty much the only time I get a craving is when I think like, oh, that sounds good. Okay, I make the decision to do that. Like I'm like, oh, pizza sounds kind of good. Okay, I'm going to get pizza. And then if I don't get pizza,
then I can't stop thinking about the pizza until I finally get the pizza.
But usually the thought process is like, oh, pizza sounds good, but this also sounds good, and this is easier, or this is gonna make me feel better, etc., etc. So I end up eating something else, and then I don't think about pizza again. And I don't feel deprived or restricted or anything like that. In fact, I feel pretty darn good. So, gonna kind of sort of take you through my day today, give you my tips so that you too can live a life without cravings. Let's go. So first half of today is gonna be an errands running day. So I'm just running around, figured I would stop for breakfast. And so I stopped at Earth Bar, got myself a little smoothie. And this brings me to tip number one. And this is the thing that honestly I think makes the biggest difference for me, is starting my day with a lot of calories. This smoothie was like, I don't know, 800 something calories? A lot of protein, and make it balanced. So ideally, if you can have a good source of protein, fat, and fiber, perfect. This doesn't have as much fiber as my normal breakfast. You guys know me, during the summertime, I'm all about my chocolate frosty smoothie bowl, which is packed full of vegetables. That like really does the trick. I just did not have time to stop and make it this morning. But like even so, this is like 54 grams of protein, ton of healthy fat, a lot of other really good nourishing stuff in this as well. And this is where I think so many people go wrong, is they are scared of breakfast, or in general kind of scared of food. But oftentimes people that get a lot of cravings and have a hard time not acting on them will try to keep their breakfast as small as possible. And all that does is set you up to feel mildly hungry and have a much lower barrier of caving into your cravings for like the rest of the day. And then you just repeat the cycle every day. If you're one of those girlies that's starting your day with like 2 eggs and a rice cracker, that's why you have cravings all the time. You're not full. Your body's not satiated. It is just desperately seeking nutrients because you're just not giving it what it needs.
I am ranting way too early in this video, but I am passionate about this.
I firmly believe that not everyone, obviously, bio-individuality, different people need different things, but like so many people, if you are struggling with cravings, would benefit from like doubling the size of their breakfast. And I know that sounds scary, but imagine if instead of like a tiny little 400 calorie snack that you have for breakfast, you have 800 calories full of protein, fat, fiber, etc. You might eat 1,000 fewer calories of all of those various other things that you are craving. And so in total, you might actually eat less, because you start your day by telling your body it is safe, it is nourished, it is going to get all of the nourishment that it needs, and so it's not going to be in this mode of like must seek out other sources of nourishment and of glucose to keep this body powered. Just try it. Try it for like 3 days. And then beyond just breakfast, focusing on balanced meals as a whole is just extremely helpful in fighting cravings, or like getting rid of cravings, not fighting them. Like that's the whole thing, is people try to fight cravings. Like they have the craving, they try to fight against it. What I want to help you do is have the cravings never show up in the first place, because your body is nourished enough to not be driving you to crave all these things that like are not really helpful for you. Anyway, balanced meals over snacks. For me personally, and I mean, you guys know me if you watch my videos, I usually just have like a big breakfast and a big dinner and dessert, and then sometimes in the middle of the day, if I am hungry, I'll have a little bit of a snack or something, but like I focus on just like big meals. But if I do get hungry in the middle of the day and I have a snack, but it's in the mindset of like having a snack to like curb the hunger rather than actually like nourish my body, and I don't actually satiate my hunger,
then I'm gonna want to keep snacking the rest of the day. Like, if I get hungry, I must satisfy that hunger. I cannot like eat 20% of what my body actually wants, or else I'm gonna end up overeating because my body's just gonna be like, no, keep eating, keep eating, keep eating. What are you doing? Like, that's just the second half of intuitive eating, right? Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. Don't stop when you're 20% full and like really need to be eating more. So I guess this part of the tip is like, if you are gonna have a snack, make it intentional and make sure you're actually giving your body what it's fully asking for, rather than being like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm gonna have a little snack, and then just like kind of grabbing some chips and eating until you're 20% full and you're like, I should stop eating the chips because they're bad for me. And then you not only don't get nutrition, you don't fill yourself up, and you're gonna keep snacking the rest of the day, you're gonna have all these cravings, it's not gonna be a good time. I'm gonna reel it in now, mostly because I'm gonna be late to where I'm going, but also because this came out really aggressive right out of the gate. Apologies, but hopefully this is helpful so far.
Errands accomplished. The next thing that I do in my day that helps with cravings is focus on hydration. I've been hammering this one home a lot lately, and I think that's because I used to be the person that, I don't know if I genuinely believe this, but I told myself that hydration was like overhyped, and like to a certain extent it is. Like, you don't necessarily need to be drinking an entire gallon of water every single day. Like, that is a little bit overhyped. There's just not a lot of great like guidelines out there about hydration. Like, it's usually just like drink a gallon of water a day, which no. We prefer specificity here on the Misfit and Nerdy channel. But since putting dedicated effort into trying to stay more hydrated personally, I have noticed so many huge shifts in my body and how it responds to things and my cravings. And I wish that I had been more diligent about it earlier in my life, in my fitness journey. Because I used to think, or at least tell myself, mostly because I was just too lazy to be more on top of my hydration, but I used to tell myself that like, as long as I'm not thirsty, I'm fine, which like does kind of make sense. And then I started actively hydrating more, and I realized how much more fine I could feel if I were, you know, drinking water. And where this plays a part in cravings specifically is that if your body is dehydrated, it's going to have a harder time metabolizing glucose and using it for energy. So basically your body can't tap into your own body's stores of energy as well. And so it's going to drive you to seek glucose that's more readily available elsewhere, i.e. in the form of a donut or a cookie or something else with a lot of sugar. Cravings aren't just psychological, they are oftentimes physiological, and they are our body just driving us to get the energy that we need. But we just live in a time now when that energy comes in the form of donuts and cookies and doesn't just come in the form of like berries, right? Because like, imagine you're craving sugar, but you're living hundreds of thousands of years ago, and sugar is only in berries. That's fine, you're gonna be fine. But now we just have much more readily available sources of the energy that our body is driving us to get. And so that can just end up manifesting in a less productive way. So my more specific recommendation for hydration, beyond more than like drink a gallon of water a day, is to drink approximately half your body weight in ounces. And then you're gonna wanna do a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on your thirst level, your activity level, the weather. So if it's like really hot and you're sweating a lot, you know, the more you sweat, the more water you're going to want to add on top of that. But that's generally gonna be a much more specific recommendation for your body, right? Because like a 200-pound man and a 110-pound woman shouldn't need to drink the same amount of water. Like, it should be relative to your body weight. And then within that, I also recommend adding electrolytes. Electrolytes like salt, potassium, magnesium, etc. are kind of like little keys that unlock our cells, that allow the water molecules that you're drinking to get into the cells to make it even more hydrating. And so if you don't have adequate levels of electrolytes with the water's just not going to absorb into your cells as well. So electrolytes essentially increase the bioavailability of the water. And I have personally noticed, since adding electrolytes into my water, I have felt so much more hydrated and also felt so much more of a craving for water, I suppose. Like, I feel like my body actually wants me to drink more water because it feels so much more hydrating, as opposed to before when I was like trying to get myself to drink water, but felt like I was too lazy to do it. Like, it didn't feel like my body wanted the water as much, and I think that's because it just was not as hydrating as now that I have electrolytes in it and my body can absorb more of it. And if you're looking for an electrolyte recommendation, I have been loving Element lately. I started using them way back when I was like binging MINDPUMP and they first started working with MINDPUMP. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get me some of that. So I've been dabbling with Element on and off for years, and they are probably the best tasting electrolyte mix out there, especially of the ones that actually have like good quality ingredients. There's a lot of electrolyte blends that are just like probably not great for you. But Element is an electrolyte that has everything you need and nothing that you don't. So it's full of sodium, potassium, and magnesium in these science-backed ratios, and none of the junk, the sugar, no fillers, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, etc. So this is the electrolyte kick that I am on right now. I got some in my little special beverage concoction right here, and if you guys do want to try it, they are offering you guys a free sample pack with any order. So if you order the grapefruit salt, which is my favorite flavor, one of my favorite flavors.
I have a couple favorite flavors.
But if you order any of their flavors, you will get an 8-pack of all of the flavors so that you can try everything and see what you like the best. If you want to sample all of them, go to drinklmnt.com/fitandnerdy, place a little order, you'll get a little sample pack. I'll leave a link down in the description box below. Check them out. I am out for a little walk, little step. The next thing that I want to talk about has nothing to do with walking, but has to do with mindset. Your mindset around food can possibly make literally the biggest difference when it comes to your cravings. Because while there are a ton of physiological things that can drive cravings, like dehydration, like just not nourishing your body well enough, like starting your day with a really small breakfast where you're hungry the rest of the day, there's also plenty of psychological things that can create mental cravings. The biggest thing that gets in a lot of people's way when it comes to food and cravings is viewing it as very like black and white, strict rules around food, like yes, this is allowed, no, this is not allowed, etc. But restriction just creates a sense of deprivation, which inherently just makes you want to rebel. Like, if you have ever been told no, you can't do something, obviously you're immediately going to want to do that thing a little bit more. And your relationship with food works the same way. If you tell yourself no, you absolutely under no circumstances can have a donut, now you're thinking about donuts. Now that idea is in your head, and now you feel like really restricted and feel like you need to have that donut. When you see all foods as options and whether or not you're eating them as a choice that you get to make, it's a lot easier to make the choice not to eat the thing. Like me personally, I don't eat a lot of pizza, I don't eat a lot of donuts. The only thing I really don't eat is gluten, but that's because I have celiac disease, and I would just, it would not be a good time if I ate gluten. But other than that, I don't actively restrict anything. I don't actively say no to anything. All of these foods are always an option, and if I want it bad enough, or if I'm in like a social situation where it makes more sense to have the thing, then I will. And because I know that it's always an option, I never feel compelled to eat the thing whenever the option presents itself, if that makes sense. Oh, it's so bright. This is why it is so helpful and even imperative to view food as fuel, not as the enemy. And I think in this regard, it's really helpful to remember that your body, your health, is a summation of the last few months and even years of your diet and lifestyle. Like yes, what you eat one day could have a short-term impact on your physique, your water retention, your health, etc. But long-term, it's what you're doing long-term that matters, rather than whether or not you ate one donut on January 23rd of 2021. Basically, if you can break out of the restriction mindset, you're gonna have much fewer cravings, and it's gonna be a lot easier to deal with all of that. I'm about to do a little flowy workout. I'm taking it easy today because I did a crazy workout the other day. I went to like a group class. It was a lot, and I am sore now, so we're taking it easy. But my next tip for you, if you are struggling with cravings, is reverse diet.
Do it.
I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with who thought they just had these uncontrollable cravings and thought that they were just so out of control with food in general, but
In reality, they were just not eating nearly enough to sustain their bodies. And so their bodies were driving them to just crave everything because their bodies desperately just needed calories and nutrition. If you are under eating, especially chronically, your body's gonna do everything in its power to get you to stop doing that. Your body's smart. Your body is on your team. Your body wants you to be healthy. So if you're not giving it enough of what it needs to be healthy, you're gonna have cravings. Like, no amount of starting your day with a big balanced breakfast and hydrating and changing your mindset is going to change that. And this is where I see a lot of people, particularly women, get stuck, is they've been trying to diet for so long, that they've just been on such a low calorie intake for so long that their metabolism has slowed down. And even if they wanted to eat more, they couldn't without gaining weight. And so then they get stuck eating this low calorie amount, constantly craving things, usually ending up yo-yoing back and forth with their weight because you can't have both. And then it's just this endless cycle of, you know, feeling bad about yourself and feeling really restricted. And reverse dieting is the answer to that. For those of you who don't know, I have a lot of content about reverse dieting already, so just do a little searchy search on my channel, reverse dieting. But it's essentially a process by which you can speed up your metabolism to eat more without gaining excess fat. Doesn't that sound great? You could go from trying to eat 1,400 calories a day, feeling miserable all the time, always craving things, giving into those cravings a lot and feeling bad about yourself, and then yo-yoing back and forth. Or you can reverse diet, and instead of trying to eat 1,400 calories a day, eat 2,200 calories a day. Feel full and satiated. Be able to have a donut every day if you really freaking wanted to without gaining any weight. And let me tell you, when you get to the point with your calorie intake and your metabolic rate where you could literally eat whatever you want without gaining weight, you're not really going to be dealing with any of these psychological cravings because you know you can have whatever, whenever. And so you're not going to feel restricted. It just gives you this immense amount of food freedom that can really change your relationship with food for the better. So if you want to reverse diet, friendly reminder that I'm doing a summer flash sale on my courses, including Reverse Dieting 101, which will walk you through every single little nitty-gritty thing that you need to know in order to reverse diet without gaining any excess body fat. It comes with video lectures, workout programs, group coaching, so you have actual support from a coach along the way in case there's any other questions that the course doesn't answer. It will hold your hand through the entire process to help you speed up your metabolism, get food freedom, get rid of all the psychologically driven cravings. The flash sale is $150 off. It ends at midnight on July 31st. It ends very soon. I'll leave a link down in the description box below, reversedieting101.com if you want to check that out, or fatloss101.com if you want to save $150 on my Fat Loss 101 course. But regardless of whether or not you get the courses, I just reverse dieting. Almost every single person that has come to me with some sort of fat loss goal or with a skewed relationship with food has needed to reverse diet. And maybe because that's kind of the clientele that I attract in because I talk about reverse dieting a lot, but I started talking about reverse dieting because that was already a pattern that I was seeing so frequently in clients that were coming to me. And I've just seen it be so transformative for so many people. So don't be afraid of it. It's good for you. For dinner, I just cooked up this ginormous pot of food. Don't worry, this is not one meal. This is gonna be spread out over like 4 or 5 days. But in here we have white rice and then a bunch of veggies. It's carrots, broccoli, bok choy, red onion, and zucchini. And then some chicken and a really great tikka masala sauce. And this dinner perfectly embodies my next tip, which is focus your food around whole and processed foods. And this is because processed foods are literally engineered, like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars have gone in to paying food scientists to engineer these foods to hijack your brain and make you keep craving them. So like if you are eating a lot of processed foods, it's not really your fault that you're always craving the processed foods. It's the fault of all those people in the labs that made the food that way and the people that paid them to do that. And this is one of the trickier tips just because obviously if you're already eating a ton of processed foods, you're gonna have more cravings, and so it's gonna be harder to cut out processed foods and just stick to only whole and processed foods. But if you can make that transition, it can literally change your life and your relationship with food. How one might go about making that transition, I think would vary from person to person and depend on your relationship with food. I think the most efficient way, but not necessarily one I'd recommend to everyone, is to do just like a 30-day detox. I use that word very loosely, but like do a 30-day period where you only eat whole and processed food. So do something like Whole30 or like go strictly paleo for 30 days or something. Because it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to really get rid of all of those psychological effects of the processed foods. And so if you can just stick to that for like a month, then you're gonna change the way your body and brain actually relate to and respond to food. And then from there, it'll be a lot easier to maintain a more balanced approach to food where you can mostly eat whole unprocessed foods and then every once in a while have a little treat if you want one. But if you're someone with not a great relationship with food where that's gonna feel really restrictive and then really cause you to like go off the rails, then you might wanna take a much more subtle, careful approach to it and like slowly reduce your intake or work on food swaps. Like there's a lot of other ways to approach it that I would want to be more specific if I was giving specific advice to a specific person. Also things like just adding in more whole unprocessed foods. Like if you're aiming for like 2 to 3 cups of vegetables a day, a couple servings of whole unprocessed food protein a day, etc., etc., like hydrating, you're gonna have less room in your body for the processed foods. So like adding as much of the helpful stuff to your diet as you can leaves you a lot less space to have the less helpful stuff, and then you can kind of slowly phase that way. But anywho, I'm gonna go enjoy my dinner full of whole unprocessed foods, and then I'll give you my final little bonus tip. I am so full from dinner, but I'm gonna end my night with a sweet little treat. Got some Honey Mama's Cocoa Truffle Bar and Peanut Butter Cup flavor. I actually have not had Honey Mama's in a really long time. I tried it a while ago. I wasn't the biggest fan, but like everyone loves it, so I feel like I should like it. It smells really good. Maybe just tried the wrong flavor last time because this is dangerous. Anyway, my final little bonus tip that kind of ties everything together is intentionally give yourself sweet little treats. Is it necessary for fighting cravings? No, it really depends on your relationship with food. I think it's something that can be really helpful for people that struggle with feeling really restricted and struggle with feeling like if they aren't eating something, then they feel the need to eat it even more. And so intentionally making the decision to have just like a little something delicious at the end of every day, it doesn't even have to be every day, you know, every so often is a really great way to retrain your brain to understand that those things are not off limits. They are options for you. You are just choosing whether or not and when to have them. Oftentimes it's the novelty of something sweet that we are craving. So if you're not eating a lot of sweet little treats, then you're gonna crave it because it's something that you don't have very often. It's gonna be like, wow, like as soon as you taste it, you're like, oh my God, I have to eat 5 million of these. But if it's something that you have regularly, that appeal wears off really fast. And yes, this is a little bit counter to my last tip of eating only whole and processed foods. So again, that's why this one's kind of a bonus tip, is it really depends on the person. Like if you're really trying to break the habit of constantly consuming a lot of sugar and processed foods, then yeah, maybe don't have a sweet little treat every night. Absolutely not something that's necessary. It's just something that can help depending on the mindset that you're coming at cravings from. Anyway, with that being my final tip, I think I will wrap the video up here. I need to wash this hair and it's already getting late, which means it's not gonna have much time to dry before I go to bed. So I gotta hop in the shower. If you have any more tips for reducing cravings, please leave them down in the comments below so that we can all learn from each other. Do make sure you check out Element Electrolytes and use my link down below to get yourself a free sample pack. Also, make sure you take advantage of my summer flash sale for my courses before that expires very soon. Links all down in the doobly-doo. If you liked the video, please give a big thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I really genuinely appreciate it. Please share this video with your friends, your family, your gym buddies. If you want to see more content from me all about health and fitness, you can check it out over here. To see future videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!